3 days ago, on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, I was deep into spreadsheets at work when my phone buzzed on the desk beside me. It was a message from my wife, Emily, 39. At first, I thought nothing of it. Maybe a reminder about dinner plans or something mundane. Instead, what I saw flipped my entire world on its head. Emily, Ryan, I want a divorce. Please direct any future communication to my lawyer, Mr. Franklin. His contact information will follow. 15 years of marriage ended in a few brutal lines of text. No hint, no warning. We had just shared dinner the night before, chatting casually about what we might do over the weekend. There had been no arguments, no coldness. Nothing to signal this. I stared at her message for what felt like an eternity, maybe 5 minutes, maybe more, barely blinking. Shock, pain, anger. They all hit me at once, swirling under the surface. But strangely, outwardly, I felt nothing but a cold, razor-sharp clarity. She had set the terms. No more personal communication. Lawyers only. Fine. I typed out my reply, hand steady, understood. From that moment, everything shifted from emotional to practical. She had chosen a legal battleground, which meant the informal understandings we'd lived by for years were immediately irrelevant. Thankfully, we had mostly kept our daily finances separate, a decision I'd insisted on after watching my parents' divorce turn into an absolute disaster. She had her personal account. I had mine. But there were still ties. Credit cards first. Emily had been an authorized user on a couple of my accounts, though not a joint holder. I logged into my banking apps. Clicked up. Canceled every card she had access to. Removed her as an authorized user. Done. Next, the allowance. Every month, I had been transferring a set amount to her account for personal expenses. I logged in, found a recurring transfer, canceled it immediately. Then the shared subscriptions, Netflix, Prime, Spotify, all under my name. I signed out every device connected to those accounts. Reset all passwords. If she wanted those services now, she'd have to get them herself. The car came next. The vehicle she drove was leased in my name, and I carried the insurance. I didn't cancel the insurance right away. I didn't want her driving uninsured, but I made a mental note to discuss transferring the lease with my attorney as soon as possible. As for the gas card, tied to one of the canceled credit cards. Now, on nothing more than a useless piece of plastic. All of it, the financial severance, took about 30 minutes. And it wasn't out of spite. It wasn't revenge. It was just me accepting cleanly and completely the new reality Emily had dictated. She had drawn a hard line. No more assumptions, no more informal support, only legal agreements from here on out. About an hour after her text, I received an email containing Mr. Franklin's contact details. Without hesitation, I forwarded it to Ms. Bennett, a divorce lawyer recommended to me by a trusted colleague. I shot her a short, direct email. Received text from wife demanding divorce, insisting on lawyer-only communication. Complied. Need urgent consultation regarding asset protection and next steps. Requesting retainer information. After finishing on my project at work, I went home. The house was eerily empty. It was clear Emily had packed up and left during the day. Surprisingly, I slept that night. Not well. Not restfully. But I slept. Something I hadn't expected. Fast forward 72 hours. It was Friday afternoon when my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Somehow, I already knew who it would be. I picked up. Hello. Is this Ryan, last name? A clipped, impatient voice asked. Yes, speaking. This is Mr. Franklin. I represent Emily, last name. My client is experiencing certain difficulties. I kept my voice flat. Okay. Her credit cards have been declined. Access to funds has been abruptly terminated. In cases of separation, financial status quo is typically maintained, he said sharply. Mr. Franklin, I said evenly. My wife texted me on Tuesday, informing me of her decision to divorce and instructing that all communication be conducted through attorneys. I complied immediately. All informal financial arrangements have ceased. Any future financial support must be negotiated formally between you and my attorney, Ms. Bennett. There was a pause. I could hear the faint rustling of papers on his end. My client requires immediate access to funds for basic necessities. Temporary accommodation, for example, he pressed. Accommodation? I asked, genuinely surprised. Where exactly is she staying? That's not pertinent to this discussion, he snapped. You acted in bad faith, Mr. Last Name, by cutting her off without prior notice. I stayed calm. My wife ended the marriage unilaterally, via text, and demanded legal-only communication. She ended the trust and informal cooperation between us. Financial support will now be determined through the proper legal channels, not by frantic calls about cards she was never the primary holder of. A longer pause followed. My client will be seeking emergency financial relief, Mr. Franklin said stiffly. That is her right, I replied. Please direct any filings to Ms. Bennett. You have her contact details. I do, he answered, sounding tight. Excellent. As per my wife's instructions, this conversation is concluded. Good day. And with that, I hung up. My hands were trembling slightly, adrenaline kicking in, but underneath it all, I felt a strange sense of validation. She wanted this cold, formal, legal distance. Now she was getting it, every step of the way. Waiting now for Ms. Bennett's call. This is only the beginning. Update 1. 1 week later. It's been a full week since that text shattered everything. As expected, things heated up fast. Appreciate all the comments and messages. It's honestly good to know I'm not the one losing my mind here. Ms. Bennett got back to me the same day Mr. Franklin first reached out. She's sharp, confirmed that, given Emily's message, my actions were completely logical. Her immediate advice, document everything. Mr. Franklin's first official move came on Monday. He filed a formal request asking for emergency temporary spousal support and exclusive use of the marital home, the same home Emily had voluntarily left. Honestly, it was laughable, and the amount they demanded? Astronomical. Not just basic needs. They wanted me to bankroll her entire old lifestyle, plus new housing expenses, plus her legal fees. The entitlement was genuinely next level. Ms. Bennett immediately responded, filing a counterproposal offering temporary support strictly based on documented needs, not luxury expenses. She emphasized that Emily had left the house of her own free will and that my actions were a direct response to Emily's lawyer's only directive. Then the personal attacks started rolling in. Wednesday night, I got a call from Natalie, Emily's longtime best friend. I answered, hoping maybe I'd get some inside information. Big mistake. Ryan, what the hell? She barked the moment I picked up. No hello, Natalie? I said wearily. Don't Natalie me. Emily's sleeping on my couch. Because of you. She can't even buy groceries. You made her homeless. I stayed calmed up. Emily demanded a divorce via text and explicitly ordered that all communication go through lawyers. I'm following her wishes. You know, she barely works. How's she supposed to live? She's terrified. It's true. Emily's part-time gig in graphic design barely covered fund money before this. Real living expenses? She hadn't needed to think about them seriously. I reminded Natalie. She hired a lawyer before she even spoke to me about anything. Financial matters now go through the attorneys, just like she wanted. Cruel. Vindictive after 15 years. Natalie snapped. She was emotional. She made a mistake, she insisted. Instructing lawyers only isn't something you accidentally do in a moment of emotion. I replied calmly. And hiring Mr. Franklin? Was that an emotional mistake too? There was a heavy silence on the line. She deserves support. You always took care of her. Natalie protested. And I would have been willing to discuss things amicably, I said, if she hadn't blown up our marriage by text and gone straight to legal warfare. She set the rules. Now we all play by them. She'll take you for everything. Natalie spat. She's free to try, I said coolly. It's all filed legally. My attorney's handling it. I'm not discussing this further. Goodbye. And I hung up. So, apparently, I'm the villain now, simply for doing exactly what Emily instructed. The narrative they're pushing is pure victimhood, painting me as some cold-hearted monster. The bank incident. As if that wasn't enough drama, I got an alert from my bank yesterday. Someone had attempted a withdrawal from an old savings account. Turns out, we had opened a joint savings account years ago and totally forgotten about it. It had maybe $500 left. Not exactly a fortune. It hadn't been part of any of our active financial arrangements for a long time. Apparently, Emily had found the debit card tied to that account and tried to drain it. Because the account had been dormant for so long, the bank flagged the transaction as suspicious. I went there immediately, explained that we were in the middle of a divorce, and had the account frozen pending a formal legal agreement. It wasn't about the money, it was about the principal. About the fact that, while her lawyer was loudly accusing me of bad faith, Emily herself was trying to quietly grab whatever she could on the side. Ms. Bennett actually said this incident helps us. It shows that Emily isn't just sitting back. She's actively trying to bypass the legal process she demanded. That matters when the court looks at patterns of behavior. Right now, we're just waiting for a court date for the emergency support hearing. Emily is still crashing at Natalie's place. And Mr. Franklin is probably beginning to realize that his client didn't want a divorce. She wanted an open, endless checkbook without consequences. The initial shock has faded. Now, it's just grim determination. I know this is going to get ugly before it gets better. Update 2. 3 weeks later. 3 weeks out now. And yeah, things have gotten messy. Not shocking, but still disappointing. Last week we had the emergency support hearing. Emily was there, looking stressed, avoiding eye contact with me like I was some kind of threat. Mr. Franklin tried to paint her as a destitute, helpless victim, the result of my malicious actions. Ms. Bennett stayed composed and precise, laying everything out. She introduced the original text Emily sent, the one demanding that all communication go through lawyers. Then she showed bank statements clearly indicating that I canceled Emily's supplementary cards and the monthly allowance only after she issued that directive. She presented proof that I had continued paying all the major fixed expenses, mortgage, utilities, car insurance, everything. And she included evidence of Emily's attempt to drain that old, forgotten joint savings account after demanding lawyer-only communication. When Emily's income records were presented, they showed exactly what we expected. Her part-time design work was bringing in some money, enough to prove she wasn't destitute. She just didn't have discretionary spending power anymore. The judge didn't seem impressed with Mr. Franklin's emotional appeal. He even asked Emily directly why there hadn't been any discussion before she dropped the divorce bombshell. She muttered something about feeling intimidated. I almost laughed. Anyone who knows me knows that's not my style. The judge clearly seemed skeptical too. The result, temporary spousal support, was ordered, but it was much closer to the figure Ms. Bennett proposed than the fantasy number Emily and her lawyer demanded. The judge made it very clear. The support was meant to cover basic needs and help with legal costs, not to maintain the lifestyle Emily had before she blew up the marriage. He even pointed out that her own choices, the abrupt text, the account drain attempt, contributed to her current situation. Walking out of that courtroom felt like dodging a bullet. But deep down, I knew it wasn't over yet. This week, the real games began. The dirty tricks started almost immediately. First attack. I got a call from HR at my job. They'd received an anonymous complaint accusing me of misusing company resources for personal legal matters and displaying unstable behavior. Total lies. I had done everything related to the divorce through my own personal devices, not on work time. Thankfully, my boss knows me well. HR looked into it, checked device logs, checked timelines, and found absolutely nothing. I had a short, professional conversation with them, calmly explaining the situation. The complaint was officially dismissed as baseless. But the message was clear. Someone was trying to mess with my career. Ms. Bennett made a formal note about it. We can't prove exactly who filed it. Anonymous, of course, but it fits the pattern of harassment. Second attack. Emily's mother called me, crying hysterically. "How could you do this to her?" she sobbed. "She's struggling. The judge was unfair. Give her more money. Think about all the years she gave you." I kept it brief and firm. Emily chose this path. Financial matters are being handled by our attorneys. exactly as she requested. I can't discuss this directly. She called me heartless before slamming the phone down. It's relentless emotional manipulation. They genuinely believed I would just keep handing over money forever, no matter what Emily did. Not anymore. Their tactics only confirmed what I already knew. I couldn't just react to every new emotional ambush. I needed to stay proactive, legally tighten everything down, and protect myself by the book. Handling the car. Ms. Bennett sent Mr. Franklin a letter regarding the car Emily was still driving. Since temporary support was now officially in place, Emily had two options: take over the lease herself if she qualified financially, or return the car. My next lease payment cycle would be my last. Insurance coverage, which I'd been keeping active out of responsibility, would end on the same timeline. Emily now had 30 days to figure it out. No exceptions. Her transportation was no longer my problem to solve. The house situation. Separately, I filed for formal exclusive use of the marital home. Emily had voluntarily moved out, and the judge hadn't awarded her exclusive use, so the filing made perfect sense. Meanwhile, we kicked off the valuation process for either a sale or a buyout. Given Emily's shaky financial situation, a buyout from her side seemed highly unlikely, all part of establishing clear legal control and starting the asset division process properly. Financial discovery. We also pushed hard for immediate, full financial discovery. I had good reason to suspect Emily might be hiding assets somewhere, maybe small, maybe not. Now was the time for everything to be dragged into the light. Court-ordered transparency, no more games. Anyone hiding assets during a divorce usually ends up with serious problems. Documenting harassment. I continued documenting every shady move, every manipulative call, the false HR complaint, dates, times, detailed summaries. Ms. Bennett said this consistent pattern of bad faith behavior would likely influence the final settlement in my favor. Legal fees focus. It's not about revenge. It's about methodically protecting myself, following the exact legal path Emily forced us onto when she dropped the lawyer's only bomb. The fake HR complaint had crossed a major line, showing that their side was willing to play dirty. That made taking firm, decisive steps absolutely necessary. Emily breaks her own rules. Yesterday, Emily broke her own rule and texted me directly. Emily, Ryan, you can't take the car? How am I supposed to get anywhere? You have to stop this. I immediately took a screenshot and forwarded it to Ms. Bennett. Then I responded, simply and formally. Me, Emily, per your instructions dated date. All communication must go through attorneys. Please contact Mr. Franklin. Silence. Not a single word back. Final update. 6 months later. It's been about 7 months since Emily fired off that text. And just last month, the divorce was finalized. Feels like a lifetime ago. Honestly. Time to close this chapter properly. The last 6 months were nothing short of legal trench warfare. Mr. Franklin dragged out every step, delay after delay. Emily kept playing the victim, rejecting reasonable settlement offers left and right, always hoping for a better deal. The car battle. The car turned into a major fight. Emily couldn't qualify to take over the lease herself, but stubbornly refused to return the vehicle. Mr. Franklin tried, arguing that the car was a necessity for her. Ms. Bennett shut that down fast, reminding them that temporary support covered basic transportation needs, and that the deadline to assume the lease had already come and gone. We officially informed the leasing company that I was no longer paying and that Emily was no longer an authorized driver. The car was repossessed right outside Natalie's house. Right on cue, frantic calls started rolling in. Natalie, Emily's mom, all full of outrage. I didn't answer. I forwarded everything to Ms. Bennett. Emily was furious, but legally, her inaction had cornered her. The house. On the housing front, I successfully secured formal exclusive use. We moved forward with selling the property, and, thankfully, it sold pretty quickly. The equity proceeds went straight into escrow, waiting for final division. Of course, Emily fought for a bigger share, claiming she was at an economic disadvantage. The financial discovery bombshell. Financial discovery turned out to be the real game changer. We pushed hard, forcing Emily to disclose everything under court order. Turns out she had a separate savings account funded by years of quiet parental gifts, and a small portfolio of inherited stocks she had conveniently forgotten about. It wasn't a massive fortune, but it was certainly a lot more than the $500 she tried to drain from that dormant joint account earlier. Mr. Franklin tried to argue it was separate property. Ms. Bennett countered brilliantly, proving the funds had been commingled with marital assets over the years, making them fair game for division. The anonymous complaint fallout. That anonymous HR complaint from weeks ago resurfaced during the final proceedings. While we couldn't directly prove who filed it, the judge noted the suspicious timing and the nature of it when reviewing everything. No monetary damages were awarded, but it added another layer to the picture of bad faith that Emily had created. The final settlement. We settled just before heading into a full contested trial. The judge was clearly growing impatient with Emily's stalling tactics during pre-trial negotiations. Facing a worse outcome, and possibly being ordered to pay my legal fees, Emily finally folded. Here's how things shook out. House equity split nearly 50-50, with a slight advantage to me because of her hidden assets being factored in. Stocks divided as marital property, not separate. Savings. Emily kept her small personal account. Spousal support. Limited to 2 years of rehabilitative alimony, significantly lower than she had demanded. Enough to help her transition, but not to maintain her old lifestyle. Support is contingent on her making active efforts to become self-sufficient. Legal fees. Each side paid their own. A win. We avoided a brutal fight over who would cover legal costs. The aftermath. As of now, Emily is living in a small apartment. She's working more hours, and, from what I hear indirectly, still complaining about money. Natalie, from what I can tell, has distanced herself. Apparently, Emily became more of a burden than a friend. Her parents are probably still helping her, quietly. Any remorse? Apologies? None. Not even a hint. Emily still seems genuinely baffled that I didn't just keep funding her lifestyle indefinitely after she blew everything up. The entitlement runs deep. She honestly believed she was owed the life she had, regardless of her own choices. Me? It's been a rough 7 months, expensive, exhausting, at times brutal. But overall, I came out better. I kept my job. Kept my integrity. Kept a fair share of the assets. Most importantly, I learned that I can handle a crisis strategically without getting dragged into emotional chaos. I'm back at the gym, reconnecting with friends Emily never liked, and enjoying the peace and quiet of a house that finally feels like mine. No Hollywood revenge here. Just steady, relentless consequences meeting cold, logical resistance. She wanted everything to be formal and legal. She got exactly that, and all the harsh financial reality that came with it. That's all the satisfaction I'll ever need. Thanks for giving me a place to vent. It helped more than I can explain. Now it's time to move forward.